Alright, so today we're going to be using equations in word problems. Now I know that word problems are difficult for a lot of you. We've got to read through a whole lot of words before we get to the maths we need to do. So I'm going to help you through it and then guide you through it, and then giving you a little bit of a hint here too. So it says 5 tickets for a film cost $55. How much does each ticket cost? Now some of you might know the answer to that question. We're not just going to do it straight away with getting an answer, because these questions get harder, and what they will normally do in an exam question is they will say to you, write an equation and solve it to answer this question. So if you don't follow the instructions and you don't write an equation, even if you get the answer right, you get no marks. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do this with equations. So 5 tickets for a film cost $55. How much does each ticket cost? Now they've helped you here because they said, let T represent the price of a ticket, which is what they're asking you to find, the price of one ticket. Okay, so we're going to use this T in writing an equation. So if we have 5 tickets, we need 5 times the price of one ticket. So it's 5 times the price of one ticket, which is T, costs, in other words, equals $55. We're just going to write equals 55. Okay, now we've created an equation there, so all we're going to do is solve it now. So we're going to get rid of this times 5 so that we can get the T by itself. Keep your equal signs under equal signs. Then we write our 55 down, and then we're going to do the opposite of times 5, which is divide by 5. Now we go to the calculator fraction key and put that in the calculator and keep our T over here. So we have T equals, and if you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 11. Now, because it's the price of a ticket, we have to put the dollars in front. So the price of one ticket is $11. Okay, so that question just involved a short equation with one step in it to solve the equation. Sometimes they're going to get harder than that, but we're starting with the easier ones. So in this next one, in number 2, it says a number is doubled and the result is 110. What is the number? Now they've told you to let n represent that number. So let's go back up to the actual sentence at the beginning. So instead of saying a number, let's write with our red pen n, because they told us to let n represent the number. So we've got n is doubled. Now doubled means times by 2. So I want you to write these interpretations that we're doing in red above the words. And the result is, well, is means equals. So if we put all this together now, we have n times 2 equals 110. n times 2 equals 110. So that's our equation. So now we're going to solve it. Equals signs under equal signs. We want the n by itself. We're going to get rid of our times 2. So we come over here, write the 110 down, and now we're going to divide by 2. And if you get your calculator and do this with your fraction key, keep your n equals over here, it's going to end up giving you 55. So the number they were talking about was 55. All right, you can always check it. If you have time at the end of a test, you just go, okay, I'm going to see if this actually works. If I get this number, 55, and times by 2, will it give me 110? So you just press in your calculator 55 times 2 and see if it equals 110. If it does, you've done this right. Okay, let's look at number 3. Mr. Agnew says, if you multiply my age by 4 and add 12, the answer is 240. How old is Mr. Agnew? Now they've told you to let A stand for his age. So let's go up and read what he said here. If you multiply my age, now instead of my age we're going to write A, because we're letting A stand for his age. So if you multiply A by 4 times 4 and add 12, the answer is equals 240. Now let's write it all in an equation. So we have A times 4 plus 12 equals 240. So there's your equation. So now we're going to solve it. So don't forget, A times 4 is like 4A. Right? We normally write the number before the letter, don't we? Okay? So we're going to write it like this because it's going to make it easier for you to see who the best friend is here. Well, the 4 is the best friend of A, so they are staying together for the time being. And we're going to get rid of the plus 12. So if we do that, we have 4A left on the left-hand side, 240 on the right, and then we're going to do the opposite of plus 12, which is minus 12. So now we're up to 4A equals, and if you do 240 minus 12 on your calculator, you'll get 228. And now we can get rid of our times 4. Get rid of your best friend now. So keep your A, keep your 228 over here. Now, opposite of times 4 is divide by 4. So now if you go to your calculator, press that in with your fraction key, and let's see what we get. So press your fraction key, and we're doing 200, turn it on first. Press your fraction key, and we're doing 228 over 4, 228, down arrow 4, press equals, and it says 57. So that means that A was his age, so it's 57 years old when we're looking for our units. Okay, so we've got to look at what we're talking about to know what units we need. In this one here, we only had to find a number, so that didn't need any units. All right, now, in number 4 and 5, I'll just move this over a bit. These are both talking about shapes. And when they talk about shapes, the best idea is to actually draw the shapes. Okay, so in this first one here, the perimeter of a rectangle. So I want you to underline the word rectangle. Now, it's a good idea to draw the rectangle, so let's draw what they're talking about. Here's your rectangle. Now, they've told you that the perimeter is 100. Bit hard to mark that on, so I'm just going to write that underneath. P equals 100 centimetres. P for perimeter. All right, now it says the width is 17 centimetres. Well, here's the width or the breadth. So that's 17. Don't worry about the centimetres at the moment. And this would be 17 because it's got 2 widths, hasn't it? All right, now the question says, what is the length? And they're telling you to let L represent the length of the rectangle. So I'm going to write my L here, and here's another one up here. So if you draw it up with all of that information, and then I want you to think about what a perimeter actually is. A perimeter is when we add up all the way around the shape. So that's all our information. I'm just going to think now. Right, to find a perimeter, we normally would add up all these things around the shape. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to write down P equals L plus 17 plus L plus 17. Okay, now, they told you that the perimeter is 100. So in place of the P, we can say, well, we know that's 100, so we're going to write that in straight away, that is 100. Now we're going to remember what we did with our algebra earlier. So we want to collect our like terms. So I'm going to do L plus L. Now remember that's 1L plus 1L. That gives you 2L. Then you can do this bit, plus 17 plus 17. Use your calculator, add them together, and you'll get plus 34. Make sure you don't just write 34 there. It does need a plus sign. Okay? Now, we're going to solve this equation. So we've got our L on the right-hand side. We're going to keep it there. The best friend is staying with the L. So the thing you're moving is this. Okay? So if I'm just going to move this a bit so we don't have to ruin our sides here. All right, keep the equal sign under equal sign. The 2L is staying here. Now the 100, we're going to copy it down first. Then we're going to bring this over and do the opposite of plus 34, which is minus 34. I'm running out of room here, and I'll just bring it down here. All right, so 2L equals, now if you do 100 take away 34 on your calculator, you're going to end up with 66. And then after that, sorry, I'll just move over here because I've run out of room. We need to get the L by itself, so we're going to get rid of your best friend. We're going to get rid of the times 2. So the 66 is already here on the left. We're bringing over the times 2 and doing the opposite, which is divide by 2. And if you put that in your calculator, 66 over 2 in your fraction key gives you 33. And we want the units on the end, so we want centimetres on the end of that answer because it is a length. All right, let's look at number 5. Now this is very long-winded, isn't it? Look at all the words here. But we are talking about a triangle, so underline that with your red pen, and we're talking about area of a triangle. Okay, now the area of a triangle I've taught you is half base by height. I might move that over again. That's how I teach it. Now you can use that formula like that if you like, or you can do exactly what they've told you here. So they've told you the area is calculated by multiplying the base by the height and dividing by 2. Now if we do it the way they've taught us here, base times height, and then divide that answer by 2. So you can use either one. It doesn't really matter for this question. All right, so they've told you that you're going to let B represent the base. Okay, so I'm going to do it both ways. You can pick which one of these two you write down. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to let B represent the base. Well, it already does, doesn't it? So we can just write half B. Now, the height of the triangle, they told you was 11. So we want to be writing the times sign in here, and then the 11 for the height. Okay, now the area they told you was 44. So in that spot there, we put 44. Okay, if you do it over here, same thing. The area is 44. B times the height was 11. And you're up to there. So you pick which way you want to write down. Okay, now the next bit here. For this question, we're going to do a half times 11 on your calculator. Now if you do that, do 1/2 times 11. Right, it looks like this when you do it. We're going to press the fraction key and do 1/2. Right arrow out of your fraction times 11 equals, and it gives you 11/2, so that's what I'm going to write. Now, don't forget that there is a times in here still as well, so we're going to write times B. Okay, now if we have a look over here at this one, we're ready to start actually solving the equation. So this one probably works out easier to do once you get down to this bit. Okay, so what is our best friend here? It's the times 11 on the top because it's with the letter. So we want to get rid of the divided by 2 first. So we're going to come over here, copy the 44 down, and then we're going to do the opposite of times 2, the opposite of divided by 2, which is times 2. And that will leave the B times 11 still there. Now, 44 times 2 on your calculator is 88. Now you can get rid of your best friend. The opposite of times 11 will be divided by 11. Okay, and then you go to your fraction key and put in 88 over 11. And it will give you 8. Now we do have units here. It's centimetres. So write centimetres on the end of that answer. Now this one is, sorry you can't see that, I'll just move it down. Now, this one's a little bit trickier. If you get something like this, all right, just make sure that you're careful with this bit. So we can get rid of all of that so that the b is by itself. All right, this is a bit tricky, but just bear with me. So the opposite of times 11 over 2 is divided by 11 over 2. So it's actually better when we're doing this so that we don't have fraction bars all over the place if we write 44 divided by 11 over 2. So let's go to the calculator and we're just going to type in 44 divided by fraction key 11 down arrow 2. 44 divided by 11 over 2 equals 8. So you get the same answer. So I think the working probably works out a lot better over here on the right, but you can still do this. Just be patient with it. Okay, so this question was a bit hard. Okay, so if you get into a test and you get one like that, just don't give up. Do your best. Start by doing the things I've told you. All right, I didn't draw the triangle, did I? It probably didn't matter a whole lot on this question, all right, because the area you can't actually mark in, because the area is just the inside of it, and all they've given you was the perpendicular height, 11. We're looking for the base, okay, so that's what we're looking for. All right, let's have a look over here at number 6. Now, this sort of question is going to be really important later on, and a lot of people have trouble with these questions. All right, it's because of the words in it, I know that. So we'll see how we go trying to interpret this. So they've said to you, the weekly profit in dollars made by a beach umbrella hire store is given by the formula P equals 5U minus 900, where U represents the number of beach umbrellas hired. That's a lot to take in, but you can all see the formula. There it is. Right, so just put a big red box around it and let's write it down. It's really important to get the formula written down, and then you've got to think about what this all means now. So when they give you a formula, there's letters in it. You need to know a little bit about what those letters are talking about. Okay, so what's the P stand for? Well, the P stands for the profit, okay, and it's measured in dollars. You can worry about that part later. But the P is the profit. So we'll just write the P above the word profit so you can see what that is in the formula. And what's the U? Well, they told you what U is. U represents the number of beach umbrellas hired. Okay? So U, umbrellas, that's why they've used the letter U. U is the beach umbrellas that were hired. Now, if you come down here, you'll find one number in the question. And this is it. And really, you've got to work out where is that going to go. So 1055, is it the U or is it the P? They told you here it was the P, right? They're telling you the profit is 1055. So in place of the P, you're going to write 1055. Copy everything on the other side. Now, if you can get to there, and you've done your homework for solving equations, you'll get the rest of this out. So the main thing is, copy your formula. If they give you one, copy it. Then find the number in the question. There it is. What is that? What letter is that? And if you think about it, it's P, so it goes in there. Now we're just going to solve our equation. So we want to eventually get the U by itself, but we're not getting rid of the best friend here. 5 is staying. We are getting rid of the minus 900. So if we do that, we'll have 5 U's still together on the right-hand side. And over on the left, if we move the 1055 over, we're going to do the opposite of minus 900, which is plus 900. So now we go to the calculator and do 1055 plus 900. And that will give you 1,955. So now we're going to get rid of the best friend, the times 5. So we're going to have the U by itself on the right, And over here we've got 1955. I'm going to do the opposite of times 5, which is divide by 5. And I don't know what that equals. So let's go to the calculator. All right, so we're pressing the fraction key. All right, now in the fraction key we have 1955 over, down arrow 5, press equals 391. Now what does that mean? 391 what? Well, the U represents the number of beach umbrellas hired, so it's 391 beach umbrellas. Or if you like, you can just write umbrellas. So that's how many were hired to make a profit of $1,055. This does become really, really important later on. So even when you get to year 11 and 12, they are going to be asking you questions which have word problems with equations in them. So it's really good that we get a start on this in year 7 and get lots of practice with it so that we can get good at this when we get older. Okay, so have a go at your homework. If there's any problems, just email me and tell me which questions were problems. Okay, I will write out any solutions to anything where you were having any trouble, but you do need to let me know. So just let me know by email which ones are difficult.